Welcome to the Botany Bistro, where we're serving up bite-sized botany for you to munch on as you savor the science of plants. My name's Mary, and I'll be your botanist today. Our menu includes looking at plants in the Ranunculaceae family. Why in the world would I be talking about the Ranunculaceae? Well, I happen to be sitting in a beautiful field of flowers that belongs to this plant family. And this time of year in Ohio, we're actually seeing quite a few species that belong to this plant family. The Ranunculaceae family, also known as the buttercup family, has several spring ephemerals that you might notice coming up in your yards and green spaces as well. The Ranunculaceae family includes more than 2,000 species. One of the most characteristic characters, I guess you could say, of this plant family is going to be their flower structure. Flowers of plants in the Ranunculaceae tend to be actinomorphic, which means that they have radial symmetry. You'll also notice that they can be many-petaled, or their sepals tend to have colorations as well. This is something that I use out in the field in order to identify these particular plants. Many plants in this family actually have toxicity, which makes sense when you think about when they come out. Plants that are coming out very early in the spring, or it's still actually technically winter, are going to be highly attractive to herbivores who might be looking for a little extra nutrition after a long winter. Maybe they're looking for a little bit of available water. And so the development of the toxicity of these plants in their leaf, stem, and root parts is definitely something that will protect them from herbivore damage. Let's dig into a few species in the Ranunculaceae that you might be familiar with. The first one I'm going to discuss are hellebores. Hellebores, also called Lenten rose, are one of those very early spring flowers, and they're quite large actually compared to many other spring ephemerals. They have leaves that are deeply lobed, toothed edge, or a little bit serrated. I have found many varieties and colors of hellebores on the grounds at the Civic Garden Center. I found some even tucked up under the snow, which was a wonderful early sign of spring. Hellebore flowers consist mostly of sepals and not petals. These sepals are used to protect the bud before it emerges, but they also can have colorations. This is not the only plant that has colored sepals. Over the course of evolution, hellebore petals developed into nectaries. They produce nectar to attract the few insects that are active this time of year. The flower is not very specialized and will be able to be pollinated by several different types of pollinators. After flowers have been pollinated, they tend to change color, and then they start to produce these very interesting kind of star-shaped seed pods that will mature and burst open to drop their seed. So next time you're here at the Civic Garden Center, be sure to look at our collection of hellebores. They are quite delightful. Another plant that I'd like to discuss is called Hepatica. Now, Hepatica is a genus in the Ranunculaceae family, and it has a very interesting leaf on it that is lobed. Another name that this plant goes by is liverleaf or liverwort, and that is due to the resemblance of the leaves to the human liver, both of which have 3 lobes. And because of this likeness, it was used to treat liver ailments for a time. Do exercise caution though. I do not recommend ingesting plants in the Ranunculaceae family without the support of a trained herbalist. Many pollinators, including butterflies, bees, flies, and beetles, will visit the flowers of Hepatica as they bloom. The flowers will close at night and on cloudy days when pollinators are not likely to be flying. All right, now the star of the show. We are sitting in a beautiful patch of winter aconite. This beautiful little flower is borne on a stem that has this collar of leaves. It's a nice bright yellow, and it attracts lots of different pollinators. I see little honeybees out and other little flies and a couple of little beetles that are exploring all of these open blooms. It doesn't have a strong smell, but it is still pleasant. This plant can form patches over time. Now this garden has been here for quite a while, and so you probably wouldn't have such a large patch at home in just a short amount of time. But if you have winter aconite on your property, enjoy it. It really is a wonderful harbinger of spring, and we're so grateful to see it. The clematis vine is one of my favorite plants to see in a garden. I have not established any in my home landscape, but I really enjoy the beautiful flowers. They tend to have lots of wonderful varieties. I've seen some that smell very nice. They also create some really interesting seed pods that look like little truffula trees. Clematis climbing varieties are valued for their ability to scramble up walls, fences, and other structures, and also to grow through other plants such as shrubs or trees. Some can be trained along the ground to provide cover. Because of their adaptability and masses of spectacular flowers, clematis are among the most popular of all garden plants. A clematis vine does not climb by twining around something. It climbs by wrapping its leaf stems around something. Because these leaf stems are not very long, anything that's more than about ½ inch in diameter is too wide for the leaf stem to twist around. The easiest things for a clematis to grab onto are twine, fishing line, wire, thin branches, or steel rods. The more grabbing opportunities you offer, the better. So even if you have a nice trellis, consider adding some twine helper lines or covering your trellis with a grid of trellis netting. Another wonderful plant in the Ranunculaceae family that's going to be popping up this time of year is columbine. My neighbor has a wonderful collection of columbine, and she is so wonderful to donate seeds to me each year as I try to establish my own little patch. These columbine flowers are quite unique, and they come in several different colors. There are some varieties that have been made into double flowering options by the horticulture industry. Oh, I got a snake. Snake, hi snake. How are you? Do you want to be on TV? No. The Latin genus name for columbine comes from the Latin root word for eagle and describes the long spurs on the back of the flower that hide the nectaries and almost resemble claws. The flowers attract hummingbirds and also moths. As I sit in this lovely patch of winter aconite, sorry, there is a snake like literally staring at me. She's like right here. She's just doing her thing, but we're both kind of in this space together. Not all plants of the Ranunculaceae are ones that we want to celebrate in our yards. Unfortunately, there is a plant called lesser celandine that produces a yellow flower and can create quite a thick carpet, which prohibits other spring ephemerals from coming up. So if you are seeing yellow flowers that are glossy, that is probably lesser celandine. And you want to identify it correctly because there are a couple lookalikes, and some of those lookalikes we want to keep in our woodland spaces. Are you leaving now? You don't want to be on TV? Okay. Make sure you have a positive ID before you start any type of treatment plan. If you think that you have lesser celandine in your landscape, one way that you can remove it is by careful manual removal. Now the bottom of these plants' root structure does have these little bulbs on them, and they tend to stay lodged in the ground, which is why it's so difficult to eradicate. Here at the Civic Garden Center, we do have a large population of lesser celandine, and we are treating very carefully on the leaves as they emerge before flowers come out. We want to make sure that we're being very cautious. We do not do that if there's going to be rain in the forecast, and we want to make sure that the temperature is just right so that chemical stays where it needs to be. Because of the dangers of spreading this invasive species, we also caution people when they are digging up areas of their yard or they are sharing plants with each other to really try to make sure that they are not spreading this species around. Well, I'm just sitting here with all the wildlife. I've got a little snake slithering up to me. I've got these beautiful bees and flies landing on me, and I think it's a lovely day. We are so grateful that you joined us at the Botany Bistro today. Stay tuned for more Bistro to go.